planned on being away at this meeting, and certainly we're used to him making a lot of the motions. Did you hear that? So we had a motion from Tony, seconded by Aaron. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Excellent. Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is the submission of minutes. We have the town council meeting minutes from April 1st. We have the town council meeting executive session meeting minutes from April 1st, as well as the special council meeting on April 13th.
Make a motion to approve the minutes?
Is there a second?
Second, sorry.
See what's happening? It's okay. It's all right. Motion made by Tony, seconded by Aaron. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is the public hearing. We have Jordan Sawyer, East Bay Restaurant Group
Madam
Corp.
Clerk,
Yes,
I apologize. I should have stopped right there. I wanted to get a motion from this council to move I-4 forward. It is bond council, and I'd like to move that forward and be done with that very quickly. Can I get a motion to that effect?
Second.
Motion made by Mary, seconded by Tony to move I-4 forward. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Evening, Sandy. Madam Clerk, I know I'll give you a moment. I just skipped half the agenda there.
I-4.
As the clerk pulls it up, because I took her off her game,
Bless you.
this, you got it?
I do.
Excellent.
So I-4 is the bond council. This is a request for the adoption of the reimbursement and borrowing resolution for up to $2,740,000 for the town of Bristol.
Hi, Sandy.
Good evening, and thank you for the courtesy. I was going to go home and take a nap and come back at 10, but this is far better.
No, we're very efficient, so.
This relates to some capital projects in the town. We're going to go to the public market this time to get the lowest possible rate, so we'll be issuing an official statement. The projects covered by this relate to road paving, $1.5 million. Fenmore Street construction, approximately 100,000. Metacom sidewalks, 40,000. Monroe sidewalks, 200,000. There's a Fales Road end of access, that's also, in the capital projects, that was 200,000. And then the drainage issues on Anthony Avenue for 50,000. One of the things that we're trying to do is, to the extent the town has unused legislative authority to issue bonds, we're trying to tap into that first and use that, and then save your 4512(2) for things that aren't covered by your legislation. So with that background, today's resolution has you borrowing under the legislation, the chapter 239, 280. That was the public laws of 2016. We refer to it fondly as a 17 million bond issue. And that is for the drainage project. We still have unused monies for that drainage project, for drainage projects under that. The remainder will be issued under 4512(2), and that is for all the remainder of the projects, and that will be borrowing $2,060,000. We heard from the administration that they're out to bid and they want to start this project. Yeah. Aggressive schedule, but we can make it.
Excellent. Council?
I just have a quick question. Maybe Tia, that I'm not sure can answer it. When we talking about the sidewalks, what area of the Metacom Avenue are we talking about?
It's at Kane's Way. When it was developed, there was a clause that we would partner with them in doing a section of sidewalk from the traffic light to San Francisco. So that's where there's a school bus stop there.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the council? So if not, we just need a motion to adopt this resolution.
Second.
We have a motion made by Mary, seconded by Tony. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Thank you, Sandy.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman and members of the council, the next item on the agenda is B1. This is public hearing. This is Jordan Sawyer, East Bay Restaurant Group Corporation, doing business as the Bristol Oyster Bar, 448 Hope Street. This is a request for the transfer of the Class BV liquor license to Adolfo Escado, Don Taco and Tequila LLC, doing business as Don Taco and Tequila.
As the clerk said, this is a public hearing, so we're going to open the public hearing. Is there anyone here to speak in favor? If you could state your name and address for the record, please.
Sure. My name is Adolfo Escoto, and my address is 36 Red Maple Lane, Swansea, Massachusetts.
Welcome.
I am the owner of Don Taco and Tequila, the previous owner of Nacho Mama's on 76 State Street. I'm the current owner of Nacho Mama's on 80 Maple Avenue in Barrington. And so hopefully I'm having the opportunity to reopen again, but in a different name, but with the same concept I used to have.
Excellent. Is there questions for the owner? No? You'll be back in front of us in a moment, if assuming this goes well. So thank you, sir. Is there anyone else to speak in favor? You can bring it up if you need to. There you go.
Jordan Sawyer, 45 Kickamuit Ave, Bristol.
Welcome.
Hi. I just wanted to speak in favor. Obviously, I am transferring the license. I did want to make a note that I saw on the agenda that there was a outstanding debt to Southern Glazer, which I took care of after I saw it on the agenda. So it's good, and I wish Al and his partner the best.
Excellent. Thank you, Jordan.
Super.
Is there anyone else to speak in favor? Is there anyone else to speak in favor? Is there anyone else to speak in favor? Is there anyone to speak against? Is there anyone to speak against? Is there anyone to speak against?
Make a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion made by Tony, seconded by Mary to close the public hearing. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Mr.
Not
Chairman,
only is he the town administrator, but he's a sound guy. So, and so is Carla. Thank you, Carla. Sorry, Madam Clerk. Go ahead.
sure. The next item on the agenda is D1. This is Jordan Sawyer, East Bay Restaurant Group Corp., doing business as the Bristol Oyster Bar, 448 Hope Street. This is a request for the transfer of the Class BV liquor license to Adolfo Escado, Don Taco and Tequila LLC, doing business as Don.
Based on the recommendations, I make a motion to approve it.
Second.
Motion made by Tony, seconded by Mary to approve the transfer. Any discussion?
Is-
Please.
Is this the item
D1.
you want? Oh, okay. This was not the one.
No, this is
Okay.
the existing, it was an existing
Okay.
business.
All right,
Right.
excellent. Okay.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is D2. This is Adolfo Escado, Don Taco and Tequila LLC, doing business as Don Taco and Tequila, 448 Hope Street. This is a request for the victualling license.
Based on the recommendations, I make a motion to approve it.
Motion made by Tony, seconded by Mary. Discussion? Mr. Escato, this is an opportunity for a 30-second commercial. Would you like to talk about your new establishment?
Well, the new establishment, I'm very excited to come back to Bristol. Obviously, a lot of people here have probably been to Nacho Mama's before. And I am so thrilled to bring back a new concept, obviously with great recipes and great everything that I used to do back then. Now with a more enhanced building, now with opportunity to sell margaritas and everything else. But I'm just so excited to be back in Bristol. When I left Nacho Mama's, I was really sad because we couldn't come in agreement with the previous owner with the building. But this opportunity came and I was like, I cannot believe it happened. And I was so excited because I have tons of customers in Barrington from Bristol. And they always keep saying me, when are you coming back? And I was like, and the opportunity came and I was so happy and thrilled. And, so I'm thankful and grateful. Thank God for and you guys for the opportunity and the whole town of Bristol. And I'm so excited just to be back, so, we never had an issue running Nacho Mamas in Bristol, never had a complaints, nothing, and same thing in Barrington. So I feel like I'm gonna do the same thing, running the business here,
Well, I've been to your establishment, the Spaghetti Lane, right?
That one is Mike. Yeah, that would be my partner, Mike. Yeah.
So yours in some sense, and it was a nice experience. And
Yeah.
certainly Nacho Mama's. Jordan, I don't mind saying that I'll miss the oyster bar. But I'm also very excited to see you succeed here and have that establishment full of life again.
Yeah, of course. I'm very thrilled, and I put all my soul and energy that I have.
Sure
and,
you will.
And just run it as, a 110% as possible. Yeah.
Well, now with the prices of gas, we're glad that you are opening one in Bristol.
Yeah, a lot of people always have an issue crossing the bridge,
When are you planning to open? When are you planning to open?
Hopefully in June 1st, which is a Monday. I would like to start that day, but if it's not, I will push it to June 15th. So, given, if everything comes smooth and on time.
Excellent.
But that's the goal time, man.
Any other discussion from the council?
Just the best of luck.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hearing nothing. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Excellent. Good luck.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman and members of the council, the next item on the agenda is D3. This is the Bristol Police Department, and this is a request for the mobile food truck event permit for the 5th annual Community Night Out event at the Town Common for August 5th, 2026, from 5:30 to 8:30.
Nobody's up, huh? Okay. Based on the recommendations, I make a motion to approve it, even though we have a recommendation of their own.
So we get recommendations for almost everything that's in front of the council. Typically, the police department weighs in. This police department is asking for an event and they weighed in saying, we think you should approve it. So yeah, that's what Tony was talking about. I think I agree. So, is there a second?
Second.
Motion made by Tony, seconded by Aaron. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is also from the Bristol Police Department. This is the request for the one-day dancing and entertainment license for the 5th annual Community Night Out event at the Town Common to be scheduled on August 5th from 5:30 to 8:30.
Based on the recommendations, I make a motion to approve it.
Second.
Motion made by Tony, seconded by Aaron to approve. Any discussion? Lieutenant, is there anything that you wanted to weigh in on this? You are sitting in for the chief at this meeting?
Yes, I am.
No worries. So this is a great event, and this is the 5th annual event on August 5th from 5:30 to 8:30. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Mr. Chairman and members of the council, the next item on the agenda is D5. This is a petition for the modification and correction of the business name on the license from Tong Foon to Panta's Thai Cuisine, 382 Thames Street. I just want to note that it's spelled wrong on here. Sorry. The Panta's is Phanta apostrophe S. I have an extra A in there. So it's to be corrected to Phanta apostrophe S, Thai's Cuisine.
So, Madam Clerk, this
Yes.
is in front of us because it was a spelling issue or just
So
presented incorrectly?
If the council recalls at the last council meeting, actually in March, there was a new owner that took over Tong Foon. And when he originally went to go take it over, he was going to assume it under the same business name. And then right after the council approved the license, they decided to change the name to a different name and go under a new name. So it's the same owners. They're just modifying the name from the previous owner to their own name.
Excellent. And you need a motion to
Just to grant the modification of the name change.
perfect.
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made by Tony, seconded by Aaron. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is D6. This is Vice Chairwoman Perella. This is discussion and act in reconsideration of the motion from Alicia V. Saldana, Colley Corporation, doing business as Colley Kitchen, 34 Gooding Avenue, with the request from the transfer the Class BV liquor license to Tafik Waldi Asai, Colley Bar and Grill LLC.
Mary?
Yes, thank you. So I just wanted to ask that we reconsider this. So if I can just like refresh everybody's memory and for
Please.
those who weren't here.
Please.
This was a transfer of license, and usually on the transfer of licenses, as you heard with Jordan Sawyer, all the bills have to be paid before the license would be transferred. But in this case, there is a lawsuit and a counter lawsuit between two parties. And we spent an extensive amount of time at the last meeting talking about, with our attorney, Amy Goins, who was here that day, about like a part of the law that says if it's in court like this, then you can transfer the license. Because if we were to hold it up until the court decided to take action, that could be several years down the road. And also, that would like put the business owner, I think, in serious jeopardy in the sense of that she would either have to pay something she doesn't agree to that she should, that she may not agree with. That's why there's a lawsuit. So I think that we misunderstood that when that motion came up to go forward, it was like a motion more similar to what we normally do to have everything paid, as opposed to, at least I know I misunderstood that and didn't catch that, as opposed to us going and allowing the transfer to take place because it is already an exemption in the law that this is allowable. And so after I realized that, I talked to Amy and she said that we would need to, because it was part of a public hearing, to transfer the license, we would need to call for another public hearing and then take it from there. And that's what this is. So like in another setting, like when I was in legislature, for example, somebody on the prevailing side could ask to reconsider a motion and it could just take, you'd vote on that and then you could take up the motion again. But we can't do that because of the public hearing aspect of it. So I'm asking that we call for a public hearing on May 13th and then discuss this again and be more clear as to the motion that I know at least a couple of us intended.
Mhm.
So you're gonna make.
Oh, so I'm going to make a motion. Yeah, sorry. Meant to say that. That we call for a public hearing on May 13th to reconsider this issue on this transfer of this particular license.
Second.
Motion made by Mary, seconded by Tony as stated. Discussion?
Mr. Chairman, can I put the solicitor on the spot here with a quick, maybe
Yes.
a legal question? I'm not sure if you'll have an answer to this or not, Andy, but I guess I can see why we would probably want to wait to have this license transferred. And I know that right now we're just calling for an additional public hearing. But one of the questions I had when I did a little bit more research into this is what happens in this situation if the license is transferred and then the person who owes the money, the creditor or the debtor, right, no longer has any assets? Is there any like remedies or anything like that the person that's owed the money would have?
Well, they still have the assets of the lawsuit. It changes it from a secured claim to an unsecured claim, or it's kind of like a mechanic's lien. While this is there, that's what it is. It's a claim. It's secured by the license. If you transfer the license, then if that person gets a judgment, they would have to try to collect the judgment as they would any other judgment, trying to find assets or attach things that they could be there. If there was no assets whatsoever, then they wouldn't be able to collect on it, even if they prevailed.
But that would be in the issue in the courts to address.
That
Am I
would be
right?
for the courts.
Yeah.
That's correct. This is, but your concern is basically the license on it, because that's effectively the security for it that the law provides.
Okay. And then like, let's say that if somebody's not in the state anymore, does that make it difficult for that person to collect?
Yes.
Okay.
Andy, I'm not used to that directness.
What
Thank
did you
No.
say? Yeah?
It
What
was-
did he say? Yeah?
Yes, you left no
Yes.
ambiguity there. Thank you.
I mean, no, impossible to,
I have no idea. It all depends on the individual situation of the party in the dispute. But to the question of does it make it more difficult? Yes, it definitely makes it more difficult, because even if there are assets out of state, then you have to go to courts in that other state to try to enforce the judgment. You have to hire a lawyer in that state where the person is to try to enforce your judgment. So it makes it more difficult, yes, if it's out of state.
all right. So if we move on to another public hearing, this could give them a little bit more time to maybe find some sort of resolution to,
No question.
yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
They could do that.
All right.
Yeah, so moving forward,
That's,
at
that-
least in my.
that's my hope is.
In my take
yeah.
on this, moving forward, if we take the next step and go to May 13th and have another public hearing, we're discussing it at that
Okay.
point in time.
Yeah.
And at that
That's right.
point, so just,
Parties have requested to submit materials to you for tonight, and I indicated to the clerk that we should not accept them because, as I said, there was a public hearing. You can't really discuss the substance of it except at another public hearing.
Okay.
So at May 13th, if you vote yes to Mary's motion, then at the 13th, people could bring up what other information at that point they
Okay.
want. Although, again, you're not really supposed to sit in the place of the court and
Yeah.
decide it, but
Yeah.
clearly you do have a role. The legislature, in its discretion, that determined that people who supply items to license holders should have some sort of extra security, just as they determine people who supply materials or labor in your home or your business and build things, they have the right for a mechanic's lien. This is a similar sort of
Okay.
lien that the legislature decided.
Okay.
I just want to say too, that this was a very new issue for us, like all the years that I've been on the council, and I don't.
Well, you heard just a few minutes before him saying, yeah, there was a debt I didn't know about. I've
Yeah,
taken care of
yeah.
it. That's the usual
Right,
posture
right.
in which it comes before the
Right.
council.
Right,
Agreed.
and so there was a very lengthy discussion and questions and answers on and off at that meeting about that exemption in the law, that
You're right.
section in the law that, addresses this issue, which makes perfect sense to me because once you get tied up in the court system, you could be there for a very long time. And so I think it's like worth a new look at it.
any other discussion from the council? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is D7. This is David Fariabend, the Franklin LLC, 195 Franklin Street. Request for modification to the Class BV intoxicating beverage license. This is to expand the alcohol service area to include outdoor seating area. This was continued from March 11th to call for public hearing on May 13th.
Make a motion to call for a public hearing on May 13th.
Second.
Motion made by Tony, seconded by Aaron to call for public hearing. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is F1. This is the Bristol Police Department. This is a request for council contribution to the 5th Annual Community Night Out event at the Town Common for August 5th, 2026 from 5:30 to 8:30. The council also note there is received a meeting agenda item from Captain Veeder. She apologizes for not being able to be here, but respectfully requests a donation of $2,000 from the council to support the event.
Move that we take 2,000 from council contingency to support this event.
Second.
Motion made by Mary, seconded by Tony, as stated. Discussion?
It's a good cause. So.
There it is.
Yes.
If you haven't been to
It should-
the
it should
5th
be.
Annual Community, well, you haven't because it hasn't happened yet. But if
Yes.
you went there last year, the 4th Annual, and the ones before that, it's a really nice event. And I think things like this are so valuable to connect the police department to the public and the public to the police department. It's not needed, it's valuable. In a lot of other communities, there's kind of a wall between the police department and the people in the community. That's not the case here. This is just another avenue in which it's a connection to the community, the police department valuing the community, and of course, the community valuing the police department. So it's a great event.
On behalf of the Bristol Police Department, thank you for the donation.
Any other discussion?
Well, Mike, we haven't voted yet, so.
Yeah. Mary's exerting her will on that one. I like that. Very nice job, Mary. All right. Any other discussion?
Just having a little fun.
Yeah, absolutely. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Now you can thank us.
No. Yeah, there it is. Oh, boy.
Uh-oh.
The next item on the agenda is F2. This is Howard Sutton, President of Stone Harbor Condominium Association, 345 Thames Street. This is a request for a pedestrian crosswalk to be placed on the north corner of the intersection of Bradford and Thames Street.
Is Mr. Sutton here?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Howard Sutton, 345 Thames Street, Bristol.
Evening, welcome.
As the Secretary stated, we're looking to install a crosswalk on the north corner of Bradford and Thames Street. Right now, the stop sign quite frequently is ignored. I don't think intentionally, but people do not see it. We feel that by putting the crosswalk in, it will help with the visibility. And I also would note that it is the only stop sign location on Thames Street that does not have a crosswalk in the street.
All of our recommendations are to move forward with this from
Mhm.
DPW, Police Department, the town administrator. I'm certainly going to hear from my colleagues in a moment. I agree. I think it makes a lot of sense. I think also in this particular intersection, there's an intended, hopefully, consequence, which is with that crosswalk there, if you're going south on Thames Street and somebody's taking a right or north onto Thames Street from Bradford, it's a really tight area. So having no car parked on the right-hand side because there'll be a crosswalk there will move that car over and make it a larger swing area, safer. And that's the intended or unintended, but I think it's an appropriate place for a side. for a
Excellent
crosswalk.
observation. Thank you.
Mhm. But I think I think it's important. It's a very, very busy area down there, especially in the summer. There's so much going on. And so many people around between the restaurants, different events that we have, so,
Well, there is so much going on and people are looking around and they just don't see the stop sign when
right,
they go
yeah.
by.
Thank you for bringing this forward.
Okay. Thank you.
Is there a motion from the council?
I make a motion to approve it and refer it to the town administrator and the director of public works.
Second,
Motion made by Tony, seconded by Mary, as stated. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Sun.
Mr. Chairman and members of the council, the next item on the agenda is F3. This is Michael Riley on behalf of the James D. Riley Foundation. This is a request for permanent placement of the Bristol Santa House on High Street of the town common north of Byfield School. I just want to note for the record that there is a received at meeting agenda item. Mr. Riley did submit a request to the council, respectively requesting to withdraw his petition for the Santa House.
Andy, just the receive and file on that?
Yes.
Thank you.
I make a motion to receive and file.
Second,
Motion made by Tony, seconded by Mary to receive and file. Any discussion?
Yes, just briefly, actually, even though we're not voting on it to accept it, I'm sure discussion will continue, if there is a possibility elsewhere in town to accommodate the center house. The other piece is I certainly learned quite a bit from the research done by our esteemed solicitor there. It was very helpful to learn what we can and cannot do at the common, and also some historical facts there as well. So very much appreciated.
Tony's, we got a quite a significant memo from the solicitor that really delved into the history of the town common. One of two, if I recall, I'm not
Mhm.
looking at that portion of it at the
That's
moment,
correct.
but one of two commons in the state of Rhode Island. And it just goes on from there. It was really interesting, and a lot of history there. So thank you. That was well done. Any other discussion from the council? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is F4. This is Karen Cox with the North American Family Institute. Request to hold the Run for the Kids 5K beginning and ending at Vigilant Brewery, 44 Ballou Boulevard on Sunday, September 20th from 10 to 11.
Council?
I move
Yes.
we approve with all of the stipulations for detail officers, et cetera, that have been recommended.
Second.
Motion made by Mary, seconded by Tony as stated. Discussion?
I didn't know if you needed to hear from me. Good evening.
you Karen?
Cox, Program
Excellent.
Director.
You
of
can give a
the-
commercial.
Yes.
Yeah.
Here's a 30-second commercial, please.
Program Director of the NAFI Main Street Semi-Independent Living Program for youth in Warren, and we really appreciate, this is our 4th year, and the funds go to such a great cause of helping and supporting our boys that are aging out of DCYF and helping them get set up for their next stage of life. So
Excellent.
appreciate it.
Excellent.
No, well, we appreciate your service as well.
Yes. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Good luck.
Thank you.
Mhm.
The next item on the agenda is F5. This is Christina Rubin, 32 Pierce Avenue. This is a request for removal of the accessible parking space located in front of the residence.
Please, yeah.
Excellent.
Hi, thank you, Chairman and Town Council. I'm Christina Rubin, 32 Pierce Avenue, Bristol.
Welcome.
Thank you.
So you are petitioning this council to remove a accessible parking space, and it was the previous owner of the home that you live in now that
Yes.
had requested this, is that right?
That's our understanding, yes. And so it is very valuable parking space as it's very limited and it doesn't seem like anyone ever uses it. So we were hoping that we could have it removed so that other people could park on the street that have a permit.
So we've joked a few times tonight about a lot of supporting documentation. It's another one that all the supporting documentation said the background was looked at. You're correct. It doesn't seem that people are using it. So it seemed everyone is suggesting that this council approve your request to remove it. So
Was that the Braga family that lived there prior to you?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Thought so. Then you're
Yeah.
right. You're right on target. It was for one of the elders.
So this council's next step, because it's an accessible, is this ordinance?
So it's not an ordinance. The
Thank you.
council passes it by resolution at the second meeting. So it would be constitute as the first reading and the second reading for the next meeting on May 13th.
So Madam Clerk, help me with the motion, please.
To
Sorry.
consider this action to constitute the first reading of the request for accessible parking space to be removed and to continue the matter until May 13th for second reading and adoption of the resolution.
That's what I was
I
thinking,
thought
but
so.
I wasn't
That's
sure.
what I
So,
said too.
Yeah, that's
You
what I
know,
heard.
yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Is there a motion?
Yeah, that's me.
Okay.
Yes,
Made by-
exactly.
Second.
Tony.
Motion made by Tony, seconded by Aaron. Well said, too.
Yeah.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is F6. This is Stephen Almazian, the co-chairman of the Armenian National Committee of Rhode Island. And this is for consideration to adopt a proclamation declaring April as the Genocide Awareness and Prevention Month. Mr. Almazian did send me an email not so long ago saying that he was not feeling well and was not able to appear this evening, but asks for the council consideration to adopt the resolution proclamation.
I move that we approve the resolution. Draft, do we need to draft this one? Or can we use the draft that is here?
You can use the draft that the council chooses, so.
So I think in the past, from what I read here and what I can recall, even at the state level, we always would fly the flag at that time. But with our flag laws change, and they've been able to get the number of people in the past, but they're moving towards resolution instead to acknowledge the genocide. So I move that we move forward with the resolution and approve it.
Second.
Motion made by Mary, seconded by Tony, as stated. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is G1. This is the Bristol Housing Authority. This is for one unexpired term set to expire January 2029. We have Helen Tina Barboza with a letter of resignation, and we have Donna Wilson, 5 Jenny Lane, with interest in appointment.
I make a motion that we accept the resignation of Ms. Barbosa with the letter of thank you for her service and wish the best with her husband as well, being the reason why she's resigning. And set an appointment because I believe we're going to have to interview, right?
Yes,
And set
yeah,
an
interview.
interview for.
And to advertise.
Right, Donna Wilson and advertise.
Second.
Motion made by Tony, seconded by Aaron, as stated. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is G2. This is the North and East Burial Grounds Commission. This is for one 5-year member term set to expire January 2029 and one 5-year auxiliary member unexpired term set to expire January 2028. And we have William Leary, 9 Patricia Ann Drive, with interest in appointment.
I make a motion that we set an interview for Mr. William Leary.
Second.
Motion made by Tony, seconded by Aaron. Any discussion?
Well, do we still have to advertise for another person? Is that it?
An auxiliary.
The auxiliary member?
There's still an opening, yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we have advertised before, but we do lump sum all of the public service appointments in one ad because we pay the same amount
Yeah,
anyway.
yeah.
So we add it on there, so we can add it on there just to
Yes,
be
please.
transparent.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then whoever comes, so you'll set up all of these interviews at the same time.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so we had a motion and a second to set up that interview and to advertise. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
This is your turn to speak. You're at
My
the end of
turn?
the,
Thank
you're at the
you.
end of the public service appointments.
Can, I haven't said this
Because we didn't
before.
appoint anybody
I-
tonight, that's why.
Everybody's
Oh, sure.
laughing because I always say it at this point, and I was actually looking at the next agenda item. It actually, and there's something that Tony pulled from our agenda, your report, Madam Clerk. And I know he wanted to bring some, I don't know, I don't want to take any of the magic away on that, but it pointed out that we have hundreds
You can tell them.
of boards, board and commission members in the town of Bristol. Hundreds. I think it was 402.
406.
100?
406
406. I
volunteers
said 402.
with 32 boards and commissions.
Imagine that. So
Wow.
32 boards and commissions and 406 volunteers. There are some communities that can't get 6 volunteers. We have 406, and that's town related. That doesn't include the other organizations not related to the town that do truly give back to the community. I could go on, and I do this on behalf of myself and my colleagues. We are truly thankful for the people who give back to the community to take time away on a Wednesday night at 20 minutes of 8 or whatever time it is that your meeting happens to make Bristol a better place. And it is better because of the things that you do. And this council says thank you. Thank you.
And members of the council, the next item on the agenda is H1. This is a resolution to adopt a policy in regard to the alcohol beverage license process when required license documents are not provided in a timely manner. This is continuing from February 2026.
So I found this to be very enlightening. So not surprising, but very enlightening. So at our last meeting, we had a little bit, and we've had actually multiple times, discussion about how we process a new liquor license. Currently, if you've never held a license, a liquor license, go ahead.
I'm sorry, this is about the liquor license policy. I don't know if the next one is about
It
the
is about that
informal.
too. Yeah.
The other one.
So,
Trust-
but
okay.
no,
Is it-
it's okay to
Okay, I
correct
just
me.
want to make sure.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So, yes, I was so caught up on my volunteer speech.
Well, they both say liquor license, so it's.
It's okay. It's all right. Everybody makes mistakes, and I just made one. So, all right. No, I'm good. I'm just joking. All right. So we were on H2,
H1.
H1. See,
H1.
there's the problem. So alcoholic beverage license process. So Andy, can you weigh in on this one?
Yes.
There's a lot of work done on this. So
Yes. And it's a bit lengthy, but at least it was my understanding from the previous meetings that you wanted to have it clear. We have an issue, and Bristol's not alone, but where people are required, anyone who holds a liquor license, they're required to have a certificate of good standing from the Division of Taxation before their license can be renewed. And that is the law. It's a specific regulation of the Department of Business Regulation that it has to be provided. In other words, the establishment has to prove that they're up to date on all their taxes before they can get their license, and the state taxes. And clearly it's a money grab. This state wants to make sure they get their money. But that's what it is. It's been this way for decades. And we have a few establishments in town that regularly do not have their certificate of good standing in time. And so this was to come up with a policy of how we of what we do. I think the town does encumber some liability for allowing establishments to continue to serve alcohol when they don't legally have a license, which they can't legally have if they don't have the certificate of good standing. Now, there are a lot of other things that are required as well, the various inspections and so forth. Those items are often also not complete at the time of application, but are complete by the time of issuance. And sometimes it's because they can't get the inspection in time, the fire department can't get to them in time, or a building official. So this is dealing specifically just with the certificate of good standing from the State Division of Taxation, which is something that is, as I said, very explicitly set forth in the law that says that you shall not do it. And in fact, even it points out that you should notify the applicants that, by the way, the Division of Taxation requires at least 14 days. Don't wait to the last minute to apply for it. And that's that. I think some of it may be people waiting for the last minute. Other people may be just figuring, I'll get the money to pay the taxes in December with the business at Christmas time or something like that. But that's the problem. And so one solution, in fact, when it was first discussed in February, was the idea of having a show cause hearing. But because of the timing and advertising for a show cause hearing, you wouldn't be having a hearing till January anyway. So it would be too late. So what this does is proposes that, and the good thing, I want to take a parenthetical aside here, we're doing this now. It's April. You may want to make changes, but presumably you'll have this in place by at least May. Everybody's going to have 6 months to know about it and not be surprised by it. But make the policy that at that meeting in November, when you're just the last meeting in November, I'm sorry, the first meeting in November, that they're going to have, at that point, you'll have a report from the clerk who does not have their certificate of good standing from tax. And instead of renewing that license for a year and saying, okay, subject to it, and when you get it, and then if they don't get it, we'd have to have a show cause and whatnot. You don't renew that license for a year. You only renew that license from the period of time December 1st to whatever the date is of your first meeting in December. That's the only time you renew that license. So that they will have to come back to you at that meeting in December. And you don't need a show cause because you've only renewed it till then. And you don't have to have a show cause hearing. If you don't want to renew the license at that December time, you do nothing. You can have a motion that doesn't get a second or no motion, and the license expires. Because it's a requirement of the law. If they don't have it, no license. Yes, this sounds strict and draconian. And you always have the ability at the time, the flexibility is there when they come in. That's why we're having a public hearing in December. If somebody comes in, somebody had a fire at the end of November or something like that. If something happens, you've got an ability, people have that public hearing to come and tell you what their story is. But as a procedural matter, it's not going to be a renewal and require a show cause. It will just be a renewal until that December meeting. The other thing that's there is my concern with the liability to the town is if anybody does not have it by December 1st, they cannot sell alcohol after November 30th. And they can't even, the law is pretty strict, the DBR regs, they can't even have it in the building because otherwise it's impossible to enforce the restriction on sale. So I set up a procedure that if they don't have it by then, the police are going to come on December 1st or the first day they're open after December 1st, and make sure all that alcohol will have to be removed by 5 o'clock. If they remove all the alcohol, they can still serve food and continue with their vittling license until that meeting in December when the council meets, but no alcohol. If they don't remove the alcohol, then they're closed down completely if the alcohol still is in the premise. So that's the policy that I have proposed here. This is a draft and you can do suggestions, changes, ignore it completely. I have one thing that was pointed out. The clerk and I have discussed this at length because I was also concerned with putting too much of a burden on her. But there is one thing in section 2. It's just a small thing. It's in the middle. It talks about if you renew it only to that first meeting in December, the town clerk shall place on the agenda for the first town council meeting in December as a holding place, a continuation of the public hearing for renewal of all of the licenses which are missing the certificate. And that as a holding place should not be there. It should be just, it's placed on that December meeting. That will be the public hearing. So that's my change at this point.
I believe the first time you notified them is in August. Am I correct?
That is correct. We
The-
sent out
on an
notices
annual
at the
basis.
beginning of August.
Right. So they have August, September, October, November, December. And if they cannot meet the criteria, personally, I don't feel too bad for them.
So we do send out the notices in August because for us to place things on the council agenda, there's a 2-week deadline prior to the actual council meeting date. So although I think this year our council meeting will be on November 19th, so they would need it by November 5th, if I have my dates right. So we try to send it out in plenty of time for them to be able to give us that information. I do want to make sure, I don't think in any way are we trying to penalize people who have always been
Yep.
on target and provide us with the documents. That's not the intent here. It's the contributors every year that are the ones that are bringing it in late that become an issue for the town and a liability for the town. So we are going to encourage them to provide those documents early, in due time, and we are hopefully have the online system available, so it'll make it easier for them to get it to us in the meantime.
I mean, now that the solicitor has made us aware of the liability and the thing, I believe that we just need to enforce it. And you don't have it. I remember when I was administrator throwing a couple padlocks and a couple doors. Sometimes people can't shake it up, but they came up with the cash pretty quick.
Yeah.
You know,
And I think this policy actually puts a procedure in place to what happens when somebody does not have their license and they're operating and selling alcohol without a license. So this gives a clear path to what my department and the police department and what the council allows for to make sure that they are in good standing with their license.
Could I just ask you, once we pass the final version of this, I would just ask that you maybe send it out to those license holders. I mean, and in like big letters, like this is new policy and procedure. I'm talking before August, that they need to like know that this is serious and that they need to be prepared for it. Because, I think, but when we hear about the liability, we kind of have to do it. But at the same token, we're going into people's very busy season. And so we just need to make sure that people can't come back and say, I never knew anything about it. Hopefully it's going to be widely written about and that information would go out from your office.
I did have a discussion with the solicitor about that plenty of times, and that was something that we did discuss as well today, that notification will be sent out. I'll try to get it out by May, so that way they already have it beforehand, and then again, probably in July before they get the actual applications in August. So I will make sure that we give them plenty of notification.
And maybe highlight the key sections of like what will happen.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
And I mean, hopefully this will get some coverage in the press as well.
Yeah.
I think we'll send it to them, and certainly I'll make myself available if they have questions. I think that's often a good way to get it. Sometimes the mail just gets ignored when it gets sent to people.
So the clerk and I spoke, and the solicitor and I spoke many times about this. And the hope is as this council deals with other things, is to be fair and consistent with it, that everybody gets the same treatment. And I think it's important to say, and Madam Clerk, you did point it out, we're talking about a small handful, and it's not every year, but it has happened. And the law has not changed. It's just, this is now was a clear guidance to the license holder of what this town needs to do and will do on a go-forward basis. As everyone has said, and it's worth saying again, it's not our intention to hurt any business. It's to make sure that they understand the rules and that we enforce them, and we need to. So I think it's important. Andy, thank you for, again, an outstanding job here, and Madam Clerk, all the work that you put into this too. Thank you. So our next, I'm sorry.
If I may just briefly, not to carry it on, but, the point of the liability, it's that at the cost of their negligence, then it becomes a liability on us.
That's right.
So, I mean, I understand no way that you want to penalize anybody. I mean, if they've done a good job, awesome. They to be applauded for it. But if they're not doing it, and if it's a consistent thing, they need to shake it up.
And
You know.
us is all of you, taxpayers, right? We represent you, and if these things happen and something bad happens from it and lawsuits, it all costs us all money, and we want to avoid that. So Andy, if we, this council, decide that this is fine, we want to move forward, you need a motion to adopt the resolution or
Yes.
adopt the,
Yeah, adopt the resolution and policy.
So move.
Second.
motion made by Tony, seconded by Mary, as stated. Any discussion?
Just very briefly again, Andy, thank you for taking us back to 1647.
Yeah, I know, I love that, yeah.
That was quite
1647.
interesting to read. Honestly, it was,
Yeah,
you
it
know.
was, yeah, I said the
It's
same
been
thing.
a bit educational, this meeting, you know. Pick up a few items and appreciate that. That would be you digging up some of those facts.
It was one of your forebears first, the people who first sat here, it's one of their first charges.
Wow, thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is H2. This is an informal survey, the municipal liquor license practices phased approach requested by the council at the last meeting of April 1st, 2026.
Should I wax poetic again?
You got your first crack at it,
Yeah,
right? It's very
Maybe I
good
can do
this
it
time.
smoother this time. So we've had a lot of conversation about this on the council level. We have a current policy right now that says if you do not hold a liquor license, then we will not grant a full liquor license. We grant a limited BV, so beer and wine, for 6 months. Come back in front of the council. If you are what I like to say, a good neighbor, no issues on it, then we will consider, if you request it, a full liquor license. That has been our policy for quite a while. Multiple conversations have happened recently on the council level. So this homework was done. Thank you, Madam Clerk. And the homework that's in front of us says that no other community does that. Strangely enough, that doesn't bother me at all. We are the safest community. You've seen all of whether it's safest college town, go on and on and on. I believe not because we do the 6-month policy, but in part because of that, because of many things that makes Bristol a safe community. But I do believe that it's time for us to take a look at something else. And I know Aaron has been vocal recently about this. And I think we all look at this and say, there's something else that we can do. I don't think we solve this evening, but I do believe that we should either have this at our upcoming council meeting with some suggested changes. So again, right now we do a limited BV beer and wine for 6 months. Possibly we could continue that in a much shorter realm, or if appropriate, if this council sees it appropriate, a full liquor license when it deems it appropriate with a long time of review on it. So, but colleagues?
You know, you make a very good point. It has, you know, and you've stated, you know, nobody else does it. You know, looking at the survey, you know, I think 18 communities responded. So out of the 18, none of them do. However, it doesn't faze me at all because they don't sit in our seats when decisions have to be made, when we have to deal with issues that come across. They don't sit in the seats of our police department when they have to deal with some of the baloney and garbage that goes on sometimes. So with that being said, you know, does that mean that we don't change things? I gave it some thought, and to your point, Mr. Chairman, can we modify it so that if there is a business that's been in town and there's a transfer, they're going to take on the license, maybe we need to consider that a shorter period of time. But I think the trial period still needs to exist.
Agreed.
You know, we need to give some tools also to the police department. When they go there, it's not like, well, sorry, but they have the license for the next 12 months. No, not so fast. They don't have it for the next 6 months, and they don't have a full liquor license because they're not a good neighbor, as you pointed out. So I think we need to seriously think about, you know, how do we go forward?
I just want to say that similar comment. I mean, I think it's served us well, considering what I recall is like back before we had this sort of a policy. What I think may be missing a little bit is the fact that it may not be in writing. It may not be being conveyed when somebody comes in for a license. that they're gonna have to wait, because it seems like the last couple of months, people come here, or maybe not just last couple of months, the last couple of years, they come in and they're like shocked by this. They shouldn't be shocked because they've been doing it for years.
Right.
And I think it needs to be communicated right when they come in for their license, or to put it on the agenda, number one. Number two, I think if it's a restaurant that has, perhaps, I mean, somebody's coming from another state. I mean, we just saw like it was a transfer, so it didn't necessarily apply on this in this case. But we saw like the guy who owned Nacho Mamas. He still has Nacho Mamas. He's a partner in Spaghetti Lane. So if, you know, even if he didn't own Nacho Mamas in Bristol in the past, you know, you can find a track record. You could call the police department, even if it's another state, you can find out about that person and what kind of a business they are. If they were in a restaurant business with served alcohol. So, I mean, those are the kind of things that you might be able to have some flexibility on, I think. Maybe you do like a 4-month review or something a little bit shorter. But I mean, I can see people's concern about it, but we also know what's served us well here. And we also know what's happened in the past, and we know how busy with a college town and things can be. And so like, and we're going to have a show cause hearing, which we have not had in a long time, next week, because a particular establishment is not following the rules, and they have been warned many, many times. It's not like all of a sudden we're doing a show cause hearing to possibly take their license away from them for a certain amount of time. But they have been told, they've been told from us, they've been told from the police, been told over and over again. So, I mean, we do it for a reason, and I think we just need to make sure people, that we promote it, that people know what they're getting into if they're coming in for a new license.
Aaron?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, yeah, thanks to the clerk for getting the word out and collecting all the data and things like that. I think that, yeah, there's a lot of municipalities out there that don't have a trial period. I think that we can probably continue our trial period and continue having caps and things like that, while at the same time giving out the full liquor license with maybe some heightened oversight or more compliance testing and things like that. So there are some, I think, avenues for giving that greater oversight still, even if people do have the full BBs. I think, you know, just some of these cases that are coming before us with the, you know, small bistros and things like that are, you know, trying to just have a liquor license just so that people can have a drink. I think I mentioned it at the last meeting that during that 6-month period, some people could be very excited about, you know, coming to a restaurant like that or something, and then they end up going there. Maybe they're from out of town or something like that. They go there and they find out that there's just limited beverages, right? They expected, you know, something a little bit more, but maybe there's only beer and wine, and then they go back home and they just don't go back again because there isn't the martini or, you know, something else. And so, yeah, I just think, yeah, I'm glad to hear that, you know, we're thinking about moving on, and I think that could be a good middle ground right there on this.
So council, what would you like to take as next steps? We have a couple of options, and one would be we can add as an agenda item with the proposed ideas through the clerk's department. If you wanted to have some things to chew on, we could have a workshop, a special meeting specifically to go through this.
Well, I'd like to know mostly the police department's view on this,
Okay.
and especially as it relates to closing places and things like that. And I think we could identify where the people are, and also maybe not go back out and ask all these businesses, but you know, we could probably just stop and think of like current or fairly new businesses, restaurants that have come in, and if the people have some experience. I mean, I think it's a little dangerous to take somebody that has no real restaurant experience, no real history in another state, and then give them a full liquor license. I don't think, and I think a lot of people with dinner, I mean, I don't think it's been a huge issue. The people who have had to live with it, I mean, they don't particularly like it, but I don't think it's been a huge issue for them that they've lost business, you know what I mean? And so I think it's more hearing about it that you're like, oh, I'm going to make all this money on alcohol, and now I'm going to be limited. Well, whether you have a mixed drink, or you have a glass of wine, it's still $15 or whatever it
Right.
happens to be. So, and I also don't think that, I know it's important for the people that are taking the risk on the business to get all of the revenue that they can, but we also shouldn't be, I mean, the alcohol, like Rhode Island, we're really good about the alcohol and gambling and everything else as being our basis for economic development. It shouldn't be.
So Mary, to that end, I think that in no way should a policy say that we're going to do this with everyone. So for example, you gave an example of no previous history, should you get a full liquor license? Well, that's a conversation that we can have here. Is there other reasons why we should consider it? I think this policy or proposing a change to our current policy says they would build in more flexibility. So right now we said, this is what we do and we're fair with it and equitable because we do it for everyone. I think the new policy, if we were to adopt one, needs to do that. Number one, be fair and equitable to everyone. But number two, maybe there's some flexibility built in for past history somewhere else, or as opposed to saying, I'm sorry, you've never held a license here. This is we can't do it. So I think if a little bit of flexibility without saying we must go this way or that way.
And I think that should be in policy though, like in
I agree.
written, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like if it's
I
like,
agree.
we will consider this if you have more than 2 years of experience or owning and managing, and we can contact the police department and look at your history, you know? So going right into it, they know what it is, yeah.
So I ask again, would you all like to have a workshop with this? Or-
I'm not so sure we really need a workshop,
Okay.
but I would say that if we can have draft ideas, I mean, if we want to submit the ideas maybe to the clerk
Why
or
don't
our solicitor and come up with something, I mean, that would,
So let's go on that direction. How about if we do this? We will set this at a future council.
Mhm.
I would ask that you submit your ideas or things that you'd like to be considered through the clerk's department. We'll put something together based off all of those ideas. We'll see if we can summarize it, and then we'll add it to an upcoming agenda. How's that?
And I just want one point of clarification, Mr. Chairman, in terms of like the policy that we'll be making, will it only apply to new liquor licenses that we create under ordinance? Because as you recall, the transfers we're
We
a
have
little
a
bit more,
history. Yeah.
well, they can be given to somebody without history, right?
Right, I know, that's a.
Yeah, true.
Okay.
That's a
So
problem.
we need to consider that. as
Well, I mean, I guess
We-
what
we
I was
can-
asking was, is the policy just going to revolve around when we're creating a
You
new
wanna go
liquor
retro.
license by
You wanna go
ordinance?
retro, right? You want to go back to people that we.
No, what I
Yeah.
hear, if I
No.
may, what I
Yeah.
hear Aaron saying is that right now we had a transfer a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
We
I
don't
know.
weigh in on the
Right,
appropriateness
right.
of the transfer.
Right.
Andy, could you, and obviously because that's an existing license and it's transferring, obviously there's a much different mechanics. Because if we are approving a license or granting a license, excuse me, we set all the parameters right there. So the new license holder has to follow those parameters if we so choose to do that. But if it's a transfer, the power that we have to limit it is less than that of creating one.
Now you'll get your usual answer.
Oh, boy.
well.
I asked for
Okay.
it, so it's fair.
Maybe yes, maybe no. Okay,
I
go
mean,
ahead.
it is yes in the sense that the location, you'd be hard pressed to deny it to say, oh, this isn't a good location for it if there isn't a history of complaints or something like that. So in that sense, you don't have that jurisdiction the same amount as you do with a new one. But as far as the applicant, I think you do have the ability to scrutinize the applicant and say if this is, and I think that's what you're leading around to, is you want some sort of policy that will say, well, if this is someone who's held a liquor license in our town before, or has held liquor license in neighboring communities and we have good reports to, we will not necessarily require this 6-month thing. But if it's someone without any experience with the license, or that we don't have any feedback on, that's where you're doing it. And you could do that, I think, too, on a transfer and say, okay, we're going to transfer it. Now, the question is, could we transfer a B license with a condition that they have only beer and wine for the first 6 months.
That's not the
Or-
question. I didn't hear that.
No,
Well,
no.
yeah, I mean, it
Or-
does
Well,
that
raise
is the
that,
that is
though.
the
Right.
question.
That,
That is
that's,
the question.
I don't, I mean,
Okay.
that would be,
It is
that
a
would,
question.
that would be a way to accomplish it. The other way to accomplish it will be more difficult. You'd have to create an extra BV for that time period and hold the B. And if you're doing it on transfer, it's more difficult.
So let's go high level again, so we don't go too deep
Okay.
in it. The question was, would transfers, I'll tell you what, when the council submits its ideas, submit to a if you want to weigh in on a transfer, please weigh in on that. And then we can have that as part of the larger conversation, because it's a policy, right? It's-
Actually, this transfer that we had this evening, and I sort of missed it, I made a note of it. We should have transferred with a 6-month trial period 6-month review, just in case, because it is a
Oh, we should
transfer to
come-
somebody new, so there should have been a 6 months. So
Well,
I blew
it-
that one.
It really raised,
For
here's
review.
kind of like, here's like taking it to the level of absurdity is you could have somebody that wants to establish 2 restaurants in Bristol. And then with one license, they get the transfer, the other license that they get as if we had to create the ordinance for it, they would be under a 6-month review for that one, but they wouldn't be under a 6-month review for the other one.
Well, I think
Ow.
there's two
Yeah.
things. I think
Yeah. I mean, so it just demonstrates kind of, I don't want to use this strong word like,
Well, there would
you
be,
know,
Well, I think everybody
there
should
is
get
a
the
difference.
review. Everybody new should get the review. As far as like 6 months, making sure there's no problems in terms of police and calls and, all those issues that you can have. But I think the issue is more, not so much the review. That's not what people are upset about. They want the full liquor license.
yeah.
They don't want the beer and wine. That's what
Well,
it is.
I'm sorry, what I meant to say, Councilwoman, was under one license, they would have
Yeah, no, I know what you're saying.
the full liquor license, and then the other one, they would
Yeah.
have a 6-month limited BV license where they can only do beer and wine. So it does raise, when you take it to like that, will that ever happen? No, it won't happen, but it just kind of demonstrates some
Well,
of
now you
the
just made it happen,
illogical,
so,
yeah.
So let's do this. Submit through the clerk some ideas that you'd like this council to consider. I'm guessing there'll be a lot of similar ideas, which is great. And then we will add it to an upcoming agenda and we will discuss it
Okay.
further. If we feel like we're not moving forward with it and it needs a special meeting, we'll set one up. How's that?
Mhm.
But if we can address it in a regular meeting, then we'll do that. So can I have a motion kind of to that effect? Is that we'll
So-
take those steps?
So what it is, okay, that's what I said.
Okay, beautiful. Is there a second?
Second.
So there's a motion and a second to put an agenda item on a future meeting after submitting ideas from this council through the clerk. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Madam Clerk, for doing
You're
that work
welcome.
too.
You're welcome.
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. The next item on the agenda is H3. This is Town Administrator Contente. This is a request for council consideration and action on process changes to wastewater, biosolids, and compost facility operations.
Mr. Administrator.
Thank you. So since my last memo to the council back in December, we've done a great deal of research on options for us. To go back, what the situation is with our biosolids at the sewer plant, we're having trouble selling the compost, which is the product of mixing biosolids with yard waste. The levels of PFAS in that product everywhere, not just the Bristol, is becoming an issue. And in some states in New England already, PFAS land applications of biosolid compost has been banned. Maine, Connecticut, Massachusetts, and New Hampshire right now are require the level of PFAS in the biosolids. So we're having trouble selling it. I have to remind you also that we have a limit as to how much we can store on our property. That's licensed by Rhode Island DEM. So right now, the sales are very, very low, if any. The revenues are down. We had a contract with a company that we did an RFP with, and they canceled out of the contract. Just they have no place to sell it. So that's why we're here today. We've done a great deal of research with our consulting engineer, and we have different options. And our recommendation and my hope for tonight is that we get action to move forward with three things. And the first is the process of disposing of our biosolids. So the biosolids is everything that is taking out of the wastewater and that can't be broken down to clean water. So it's what we're recommending is bio drying. So we would transport it to the compost facility and we would run it through the facility a number of times to eliminate the majority of the water weight. So it breaks down to about a third of the weight of the normal biosolid cake that we make the compost with. We did it before, the town did it, maybe 10 or 12 years ago. They did a trial back then. It seemed to have worked. It was a limited trial, but it seemed to have worked. We did get a permit from Rhode Island DM to do a temporary process to see if it will continue to work. We believe it's going to work. That's the least cost-effective and less intrusive process. I say intrusive. We are in a densely settled area where the facility is, so there are odors and so forth. We learned the actual cheapest way to eliminate the biosolids is to remove them in a liquid form, but we don't believe that's going to be practical for the number of trailer trucks that would have to leave Plant Avenue on Wood Street a week. I think it'd be very disruptive and there will be odors. So there's a number of options. We believe the biosolid is the way to go. So what I'm going to ask for, and we have Jose Da Silva from the sewer plant and one of our consulting engineers is here also, Peter Notowich from Beta Engineering, if you have any particular questions about the process. So what I'd like to do is ask for a motion after discussion to cease the composting within the next 15 months, cease the composting and do two requests for proposals. One is the transportation and disposal of the biosolids from Plant Avenue. It won't be from Plant Avenue. It's created at Plant Avenue. We are gonna truck it to the compost facility where it'll be bio-dried and then picked up by a vendor and transported out of state. That's number one. And then the other option is an RFP for curbside pickup. There's an incurred cost here. So the disposal cost is going to be, with the bio drying, it's $113,000. That's the cheapest disposal cost. If it wasn't bio dried, we're estimating we would be at $347,000. So the second RFP would be to contract with a vendor to pick up the yard waste. We no longer need the yard waste for composting, but we'll continue. Nothing will change. But in order to do this, we need to save money to be within our budget. We did do a survey from similar sized communities. We looked at what they were getting for proposals for curbside pickup by private vendors. And we believe that the bio drying and outsourcing the curbside pickup, we can be within the enterprise fund budget. So those are the three action items. And again, I have a consultant here if you have any questions about the process.
I have one question, Steve. Why can't you continue to do, the stuff with the yard waste, or is there just not enough of it?
I don't know if I understand the question, but we're going to continue to.
No, I mean, like to make like the mulch or whatever.
So we're gonna take the yard waste. We still have a tub grinder, so we're gonna grind it. We're just not gonna mix it with biosolids.
Oh,
So
right.
we can leave it in windrows. It'll bake. It'll be the same we can make the same product if we get the proper licensing that Rhode Island Resource Recovery makes. So we can deliver about 550 tons a year free to Rhode Island Resource Recovery. They make a mulch. They call it mulch. So that they'll make a mulch out of. We could do the same at our facility. It's a little bit of labor. There is some labor involved with it, but we can do that. We can also tub grind it and also give it away to contractors. That's what we're hoping. We're hoping it's not going to cost us anything for disposal costs because it is blended with other materials to make loom. So we are going to continue to accept it from our homeowners. We're going to continue to take it from contractors at this point. That may change at some point, but right now we're planning to run business as usual. We're just not going to be making the compost because, quite frankly, we just can't sell it and we can't get rid of it.
No, I was just talking about more like the mulch with just the yard waste, not mixing with the biosolids.
Yep,
Yeah.
as of right now, we'll still take yard waste and we'll still have piles of ground yard waste, which is it's
Wood,
mulch,
like,
yeah.
yeah.
And the longer it sits there, the longer it ferments and bakes and it becomes a more valuable product. So
Mhm.
the other thing I wanted to say, I have been meeting with the employees of both sewer and compost. I've had meetings with them. And at this point in time, because there are a couple of members that are close to retirement and also there's at least one out on injury, it doesn't appear that there are any layoffs needed through attrition. So we're going to, under this budget that we have in the next 15 months, at the end of this budget and the next year's budget, there won't be any, I'm hoping there won't be any layoffs at this point. Doesn't look like there will be. But I've been working with the Council 94 union. But no increase right now. It all depends on how this request for proposals for curbside pickup comes in. And that would be under the Department of Public Works. But we're not planning on changing anything. I don't think the homeowners will notice any difference. You'll still have yard waste picked up in front of your home. You can still drop off at the compost facility. We'll make sure that there is mulch available there, ground mulch, because we have the equipment to do that. The only difference is it will not have biosolids mixed into it, so it's not that organic
Right.
mulch. It's not the compost. It's going to be a mulch.
Steve, do you feel it's be less expensive to contract the pickup of the yard waste versus keeping it the way it's picked up now?
Yes. So right now we need 3 employees, and the average with Fringe it's about 113,000 per employee. So it's 339,000 just for personnel to get out there. The bids were coming in significantly cheaper. I know some of the communities are a little bit smaller, but we think we can by outsourcing that and advertising it with an option with the equipment that we have for a lease with the equipment, or maybe option to buy if over an extended amount of time. But we're going to keep everything in place. We don't want to sell everything right away, but we're going to we're going to try to be within our budget. So
Will you continue to accept yard waste from the contractors, from the landscapers?
as of right now, yes.
Okay.
They do pay us for it, so it's not a lot of money, but we get a little bit of money for it. I think we had about $30,000 last year, about 30,000 last year. So it's not a lot of money. But if it comes to the point where we have more yard waste than we need, we might have to make a change. So I don't want to commit long-term to it, but as of right now, there won't be any changes there. We're trying to be as least disruptive as possible. And again, the easy way to frame this is we're just not mixing the biosolids with yard waste anymore.
Are you done?
Yes.
Just a quick question. If, where you contract this out, how do we ensure the same level of service?
Well, we'll receive the proposals. We'll have to review them. We'll ask to make sure that the companies have experience. We're not going to ask for, in the proposal, there'll be specifications. They'll have to demonstrate that they have experience. That, it's not going to be somebody that just opened up overnight. And
Yeah. It'll be like something where, if there has been, or if people feel like that there has been a change in service or something like that, that they'll be able to reach out to one of us or the town administrator's office or
Right.
the DPW.
Well, ideally, how it normally works in the other communities, there is a phone number for example, waste management. I just say them because they seem to be one of the larger ones. If you have an issue with your pickup with waste management, you call waste management. You can also call the town, but the direct avenue would be the contractor, the vendor. But obviously they're working for us, so we want to make sure our residents are pleased, and it's not gonna go well if they're not providing a good service to the town.
And what other communities in Rhode Island are using this contracted out service?
I would say most of them, but the few that are looked at were Portsmouth.
Okay.
Middletown was one that you mentioned earlier, Mr.
Yeah.
Administrator.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Portsmouth, Middletown, Tiverton, Newport, East Providence.
So lots of surrounding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds like they might have a pretty good handle on how to do things out here.
Mr. Administrator, you and I have talked about this many times. You, Jose, our engineering firm has spent a tremendous amount of time on this. PFAS, if you all heard that term, and if you haven't, forever chemicals. They're not going away. That's why they call them forever chemicals. And nobody wants it. So we can't stop making people's toilets flush. It's going to happen. So we have to do something. These are great opportunities to not only make it happen, but there's actually a cost savings on what you're proposing. I'll say that it's cost even because I don't want to overpromise and underdeliver. But there was a bit of a cost savings there, which in and of itself is tremendous. I know some of the opportunities that you looked at were quite expensive. Other communities that ship just the liquid out, there's few places to bring it. And if you get denied that service, now what do you do? So I think this is important that we go this direction. I think it's an appropriate direction. And as been stated more than a few times, things that are important to the public. First, when you flush your toilet, it works. That's really important. Everybody's a big fan. Second part is when I put my paper bag out on the street after I cut my lawn, that it gets picked up and not spilled everywhere and it's gone. I've grown accustomed to having big branches and bringing them over to the transfer station, kind of like everybody does. So none of that changes. So the service should be the same. Well, the services will be the same. The quality of service is something that will ensure, as we do with everything. It's a great question. So for myself, I support this. I think it's a great next step in a step that we must take. It's not a question of whether we should or we shouldn't. We have to take a next step.
Yeah.
This is a very well thought out one, and I think it makes a lot of sense.
Where should the motion be?
So there are
Would
three
be
parts.
3 parts, I know.
Yeah, so the 3 parts are discontinue the practice of, I'm going to read it right from the administrator's
yes,
memo.
the memo.
So discontinue the practice of mixing sludge with yard waste at the compost facility. Issue a separate request for proposal, RFP, right, for the transportation and disposal of biodegraded wastewater sludge, and transition yard waste collection services to a contracted model, with the town issuing a request for proposal through the Department of Public Works for curbside pickup.
So move. Oops, sorry. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, did you also want that within the 15 months, that discontinuation of the practice of the mixing sludge? I thought I heard you say that earlier. Is that part of that?
Our plan is to have this all in place within the remaining months of this budget and throughout the next budget. So that's why I say 15 months.
So we'll put, and I will include that into what I just said, into within 15 months.
Well, that would be completed, not started.
No, we'd like to start like right away.
That's what I
So,
mean.
yeah.
Right.
You want to see it completed in 15
Right,
months.
within
right?
15 months. Yeah.
Yeah.
I do have one more
Please.
point just for the record. So we're in the process of running the bio drying experiment pilot. If for some reason we don't anticipate it, if it doesn't work, then we would go to option 2, which would be direct transportation of the biosolids, direct cake, called cake disposal. It's your option 2 on that sheet.
Right.
It's a little bit more expensive. But depending on where the yard waste bids come in, and we're hoping it'll still be under the budget for the compost facility. But so if we can't bio dry, we won't bio dry, but we'll still deliver the cake to a facility for incineration.
Excellent.
The most expensive one was direct burying at the central landfill. That was the most expensive.
Yeah, significantly more. So we just need a motion within that 15 months in those 3 bullet points.
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? So any other discussion?
No.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Administrator.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman and members of the council, the next item on the agenda is I1. This is Principal Planner Tanner. And this is, I love saying it. I love saying it. And this is a request for proposed parking regulations for Burnside Street. And also for the record, there is a received at meeting
Yes.
image from the council with a description of the proposed locations.
Diane, not Principal Planner
Not-
Tanner.
Not Principal Planner Tanner,
No.
but he's been working on this project. This is to do with the reconfiguration and the reconstruction of Burnside Street. And so in that process, we've created some new parking spaces and we've got some ordinance cleanup to do as well. So he's consulted with the businesses, the property owners there and the police department, and this is the recommendation that we've come up with. So I can kind of
Let's go by
describe the
colors.
Let's go by colors. All right. So,
Excellent.
so south side, which is on your map, it's the bottom
Yep.
row of colors. So on the first side, the first section of the south side from
Yeah.
Hope Street to Resolute Lane, which is about 94 feet. This is where there have been 5 newly created parallel parking spaces. So this used to have a prohibition on parking, but we now want to recommend that it be designated as residential parking with no overnight parking except with a residential sticker, which is the same thing as what's on High Street.
Okay.
Then the blue line on the south side is east of Resolute Lane in front of 1820 and 32 Burnside Street. This is an area where there are business, commercial buildings. So we're recommending a curb cut loading zone. A curb loading zone between 7 a.m. and 6 p.m. to
Diane.
provide access to the businesses.
So curb loading zone.
So,
In practice, what does that mean?
so you can park there under, for loading and unloading.
Is there like a set time?
Well, we're saying
Meaning-
between 7 and 6.
So for example, if I'm working on a boat there and I move it into that area, as long as it's gone at 6:01, I'm fine. I can
Right.
leave it there for the full day kind
Right.
of thing.
So
Gotcha.
can people park there? Like if there's something at Havershaw or somewhere at night, could they park in
Yes,
those areas?
right.
Okay.
Excellent.
And then the pink on the south side at the end of the street, there's currently signs there that say no parking anytime, but there's no ordinance for that. So that's just an ordinance cleanup.
And then on the north
On the
side,
north side, we're going to go right to left. We're going to go backwards.
sure,
So-
let's do that. That'll be interesting.
I'm just using the memo as a guide too. So
Just having
the
fun with it.
purple, we're going to keep this as is. This is currently resident only parking every day for 24 hours. So it's going to stay as is. Then the little section of blue, which is about 50 feet, this is also going to be, we recommend a curb loading zone because there's businesses there that need access to their doors during the day. And then the yellow, the little piece of yellow, there's, I think there's 2 or 3, the parking has to be striped, but there's at least 2 parallel parking spaces that are newly created. So we'd like to regulate those as residential parking with no overnight parking except with a residential sticker. That's the same as also on High Street.
Would you help me with the distinction between no overnight without the sticker and resident parking only 24 hours? What's the distinction on that?
I'm going to ask the town clerk to weigh in because she's really well versed on this.
So there's areas within the town that it's restricted 2-hour parking all day long, 24 hours a day, unless somebody has a residential sticker. And then there are other places within the town that at certain times it's restricted to having those stickers. So for this instance, anything from, I think it's 5 p.m. to 7 a.m., somebody's required to have a
But during the
sticker
day,
to,
it's fine.
but during the day, they
Got
can
it.
park there unlimited.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. And then the last piece of pink that's in front of the Havershaw Marine Museum. And that should be parking prohibited at all times for access to their parking lot.
Excellent.
Mhm.
So that's what we're recommending. And
So Diane, if this council agrees, so we would need a motion to refer to the solicitor to
draft an ordinance.
draft an ordinance
Amendment.
and to your department to work with on behalf.
Yes.
So we
Yep.
can have these things changed.
Yep.
So move.
Second.
Motion
And
made by
thanks for the
Tony,
color
seconded by
picker.
Oh, you're welcome.
Mary to refer to the solicitor and the Department of Community Development.
Yep.
Mr. Administrator?
I just want to make sure he's not going to bill us per ordinance, and I'd rather do it by hour.
Do we? No, that's not how it works. And no, you can't say yes and no, okay? Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Thank you,
I
Diane.
think there was a comment coming from over there.
Yeah, I saw it coming. That's why I moved forward. Next.
The next item on the agenda is I2. This is Director Williamson, and this is in regards to proposed zoning-related fee changes for various permits and services.
Hello, Diane.
Hello again. So if you recall during our budget review meeting, we talked about increasing the fees that we charge for certain applications to the zoning board and for the zoning officer. So we did research, we looked at other towns and what they charge, and we kind of came up with something in the middle, not the lowest, not the highest. The three fees that we'd like to increase are a zoning certificate. We currently charge 25. We'd like to increase this to 50. This is something that Ed Tanner does a lot of effort, a lot of research. It can be quite time consuming, and I think we really should increase the fee to compensate a little bit for the work that's involved in that. The next one is variance requests. This is variances for single family, two family, accessory structures, fences, and signs. And we currently charge $125. We're looking to increase that to $175, so a $50 increase. And then finally, the fee for zoning modification permits. We currently don't have a fee for this. This is a relatively new permit that the state law just created. We do charge for advertising of the legal notice that's required, but there's no application fee. So we're recommending an application fee similar to the variance requests of $175. And we did a rough estimate just on the number of permits that we're seeing. It's not going to move the needle a whole lot, but it'll give us a little bit more revenue. And we estimated it's going to be about $4,000 in increased permit revenue.
So if I may, just as a point of reference for the public too, is that Diane and her department did the research and said low in other communities, for example, on the first one, a certificate of zoning, low was 20, high was 100. So we're right in the middle with that. Again, with the variance requests, low of 100, high of 450. My goodness,
I know.
450. So we're not in the middle. We were quite low at 175. And then the last one was the modification permits. And there wasn't a lot of reference point on that one. So
Right, it's a pretty new process.
thank you.
I actually have a recommendation on the second one, okay, the 175, because we have the low 100, the high 450. I would suggest we go 200 there, as well as the third item, increase that to 200 as well. I don't think that's asking too much. It's not out of the ballpark. That would be my recommendation, to actually modify those two to be 200 each.
Should I take that as a motion?
Yes.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Is there discussion?
I'm not sure, $50 increase seems to be a lot in some of these. I mean, to go up to, what would it be? So it'd be a $75. I mean, I don't know. Seems like a lot to me, all of it, but I don't work in this world that much. Do you know what I mean? And I just feel like a lot of people are, I feel like I kind of feel like everywhere you turn, people want money. And there is no break for homeowners trying to do things, and everything's so expensive. So, I think if we're already going up a significant amount, why raise it even more? Does that mean that we're not going to then look at it again for X number of years? Or, I know, it just doesn't sit well with me.
I appreciate that mindset on it. I got to tell you though, I think on the other side of it, I think it feels more very much like our dock permits, is that you're paying for what you're using, and it wouldn't feel, most of these would certainly not be reoccurring. Number one, right? Number two, it feels to me, and I might be wrong with this, but things like a zoning modification or certificate of zoning, those are pretty significant things. That doesn't mean that we just charge more because we can, but I do believe that it helps us offset the department cost, and we're charging the user, not everyone, for it. So, but your point wasn't lost on me. I think it's there, everywhere it goes up. But if we don't do it here, we have to do it in taxes or someplace else. So, or at least it seems that way.
Right, and just to the point, we pay the advertising fees are part of the application, and those fees have gone up, cost of postage has
Advertising,
gone up.
yes.
You pay, and we pay for that, the town pays, or the person pays.
You
Well,
just
it's in
mentioned
your,
advertising.
it's in the department budget,
Yeah.
and we get reimbursed for it.
We get,
right?
yeah.
So the, and even like the zoning certificates, I noted that a lot of these now are really, they're more time consuming, and we have to call the solicitor more. I mean, there's other costs that are associated with this as part of our, it's staff time. It's the cost of the legal notices and the notices, the postings. The solicitor's office gets pulled in more often because they're a little bit more complicated now. So there's a lot more involved than maybe what things were in the past.
Diane, I'm not arguing the increase.
Okay.
I'm arguing.
How much
on-
of the increase?
Yes, right.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I agree. I think some great points were made. What we have is a motion and a second with those increases suggested by Tony, motioned by Tony. Any other discussion before we take a vote? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
I'm opposed to the extra amount beyond what was recommended by the department.
So 3-1.
Yeah. That's right,
Okay.
yeah.
That was well said.
I mean, but looking at the numbers
No,
here,
I know.
from the research they've done, I don't think we are out of whack at all.
Yeah.
Not at all. And plus these are variances.
Well,
The
one is
folks
a-
that are gonna be requesting these things, they can swing it.
One is a brand new fee though.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you. Madam Clerk.
Mr. Chairman and members of the council, the next item on the agenda is I3. This is Jay Maciel on behalf of the Bristol Conservation Commission. This is the Keep Bristol Clean, the initiative to the 37th Annual Townwide Cleanup held for April 25th, 2026 from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. The event will begin at the Bristol Department of Public Works, 111 Mount Hope Avenue.
Jay, you're a very patient man. Please.
Good evening. I'm with the Bristol Conservation Commission, Jay Maceo, and we are organizing this cleanup effort again this year. Madam Clerk gave a lot of the details. It's the 37th annual townwide cleanup, which is commendable. And it's Saturday morning. We're meeting at DPW facility, and we'll enjoy refreshments that morning. We'll have supplies, we'll have the witter bags, gloves, and
A little tool. That's a very, very handy
nice.
tool, believe me.
for
It
some
is.
of us that are, a little bit, you don't have to bend
Fancy.
over, 350 times in an hour to
Fancy.
Pretty cool.
Outstanding.
pick up litter. So
I got
we'll
three of
have
those.
these and then we'll set out to all different locations around town.
So Jay, if if the public wants to come, which
Yeah.
they always do, we get a great attendance on this. They show up, can they have a cup of coffee and a donut, and you'll give them gloves, you give them the bag, possibly a implement of destruction, and point them to some portion of the town that needs the focus on it. So is that what happens? Is that right?
Correct,
Excellent.
exactly. If there's a neighborhood organization that wants to clean up a certain parcel in their neighborhood, or they have someplace that they want to adopt, by all means, they can do that. And they'll just tell us when they arrive. Otherwise, we have a list of approximately 15 locations, 15 to 18 locations that we have identified as areas in need. So
And no call ahead necessary, just
No.
show up and be there.
just show up,
Okay.
and we're more than happy to have anybody come and help us out for as little or as much time as they want.
Outstanding. Outstanding.
So
Wow.
that's Saturday.
Saturday. This Saturday from 9 to 12, starting at DPW.
DPW.
on
Yep,
Mount
it's a-
Hope.
It's a great opportunity to get outside, to mix with others, we have other people there, and today is Earth Day, so we always try to coordinate it so it's around Earth Day.
We tried to get the council meeting on Earth Day too, so it worked out well. Excellent.
And the address again, I think it's important, just in case some folks.
So DPW, which is 111 Mount Hope Avenue.
Super.
Excellent. Just need a motion to receive and file. So,
Receive and file, and thank you.
Thank you.
motion made by Tony. Is there a second?
Second.
By Aaron. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Thank you, Jay.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is I-5. This is the Bristol Police Department. This is a request for ordinance amendment, section 16345, relative to parking on Bradford Street between Central Street and High Street, and this is to align with the ordinances with the existing posted signage.
So we talked about this at our last meeting
There
or
was some
2 meetings
discussion.
ago?
It was at our last meeting when there was a request for an ADA parking space on Bradford Street, and
Oh,
then it came up in their review that there were some signs there that didn't reflect with the actual current ordinance, so it's just to correct the ordinance to reflect what the sign says, which is what the majority of that location currently has.
So we just need a motion to refer to the solicitor to work on behalf of this council to create an ordinance to reflect this.
So move.
Second.
Motion made by Tony, seconded by Mary as stated. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Lieutenant, you've had a lot to do this evening. My goodness.
The next item on the agenda is K1. This is the Bristol County Water Authority with the Tri-Town report from March 2026.
Make a motion to receive and file.
Second.
Motion made by Tony,
Second.
seconded by Mary. Any discussion?
Just very briefly, very informative, lots of information, in a very resumed manner. So appreciate that all the time.
Well said. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. So we had 2 items that were moved forward.
Correct. I think it was GG1 and GG2.
We'll start with GG1. Tony.
Mr. Chairman, we received a very nice report. I had it autographed already, in case you didn't. I'm sure we all received it. And very nice. It's there's a few things that I would like to state. We already mentioned, she has quite a bit of information. She compiled quite a bit of information, our clerk, Melissa. As you pointed out before, 35 boards and commissions with 406 active board members. That is very impressive, and you already stated that. The other piece was the rate of births versus the rate of deaths in town. I was a little surprised at that. Births, we had 535 versus 988 deaths. So we see more folks departing than coming,
Yeah.
Also, the activities, the amount of work that it comes out of that office, the clerk area, is quite impressive. The other item that I know I was somewhat opposed initially and not being technologically, very savvy about it, but to learn that we actually, by have our tablets now, our computers, we actually are saving 63,750 sheets of paper a year, okay, which equates to 7 to possibly 8 trees. So that was very interesting. So with that being said, I'm sure there was a lot more information, but I thought it was very important. So thank you so much, for the report. It was very impressive to read through it. That's something that actually, our departments, each department could probably not necessarily do a whole report on paper, but to actually share with our residents, what their role is and, what they do, so they can make a brief presentation at the future council meetings.
Interesting.
Oh, boy.
We do an annual report.
No, you do, but,
Yeah.
for the public, maybe just, every so often we can have a department maybe do it. But you're right, we do receive that information for our purpose, and it's very much appreciated. The other item I had,
Oh, hold on, Tony.
sorry.
I just gotta say, there was something that was left out in the town council support thing that I'm a little bit disappointed about.
no.
And that's, all the phone calls that I imagine that Melissa Cordero has to field from panicked town council members, sometimes having to explain things on weekends and things like that. So seriously, every time there's a phone call or something like that, she picks up and her staff does great work and everything like that. And we appreciate that.
Thank you. May I?
No? Of course.
No, I just want to say, first of all, I have to thank my staff because they did a lot of due diligence getting all this information through. I thought it was important. I haven't had the chance in my previous years to pull this together, but they really helped me put this through and they did a lot of work for it. So I really need to give my staff a lot of credit for helping me do that. And we couldn't accomplish half of that work without the members that we have there. It was pretty impressive for myself just to see everything on paper. But also all of the things that the council actually does too. It does highlight some of the boards, the commissions, the number of meetings that you have, the meeting minutes, things of that nature. I did take this idea from the town administrator and the police chief who do an annual report. There'll be some pieces on there that do reflect some things that happened in 2024. Just was trying to give like a base point of what those changes were over time, just so the public can see the things that we do. So it does also list some of the priorities that we are looking to do. And I just also wanted to mention that even though we're trying to modernize the office and make things a little bit easier for people, that we are not losing sight of the human side of that, and that the public service actually still remains at the heart of the town clerk's office. So thank you for everybody here. And I'm very honored to be the town clerk and to be able to provide the services to the town and the residents here.
Thank you.
Very good job. Very good.
Receive and file.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Excellent. Thank you.
And may I, GG2?
GG2, go ahead.
GG2 actually is from the town administrator, and I was glad to see that. It was the issue that had come before us, the council, regarding the lights between Bradford and State Street on High Street, and to see that things have been completed there, and it appears that there have been no complaints, so that they were satisfied, and now they don't have to worry about the crickets.
There you go. Thank you, Mr. Administrator. Just need to receive and file.
Receive and file.
Second.
Motion made by Tony, seconded by Mary. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Excellent. Mr. Solicitor.
Could I have a motion to go into executive session, please? Pursuant to Rhode Island General Law 42-46-5A2, potential litigation, Isabella M. Wardwell Trust of 1939.
So move.
Is there a
Second.
motion made by Tony, seconded by Aaron? We are going to go into executive session. The video or Zoom part of it will stop here. We will end our meeting in public session, but the video stops here. So to the people watching on TV, we say good night. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Excellent. Thank you.